Welcome to Metaverse HQ, another Twitter Spaces by Metaverse HQ. Today we have Meta and Magic. We're all very excited to hear more about them and their game that's upcoming. I mean, that Discord's been absolutely popping off ever since they launched it, so that's really exciting. And hosting is going to be the always amazing Ross Boss. So I'm just going to be chilling behind the scenes a little bit, but I'll jump in once in a while to kind of ask questions if I have anything that comes up. So, Ross, I'm going to let you take it away. Meta and Magic, welcome to the show. OX Bassett, I'm glad you're here too. Can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and so we have Elijah, who is the creator. If you did you send him the invite to speak quite yet by chance?
Oh, let me do that again. I might have missed
All
it.
good.
There it is.
And
Yep,
then
I'm invited.
Estrayak there is the artist as well. If you could invite her, she might
Yeah, for
want to
sure.
chat.
Just looking for it in the list.
Hey everyone.
Perfect.
See, shoot.
Hey, good morning.
What did you say the name was?
Estrayak.
Australia. I got it.
Cool.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. Perfect. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, and then I'm Ren Sport. I'm the community manager. Um, and then again, yeah, Elijah is the creator of the project. Zerex Bassett is one of our devs, and Strayak is an artist. I guess one of our artists. There are a couple. But yeah, thanks for the intro. Appreciate it. Hey, GM Elijah, how are you? Welcome.
Hey, good morning to people in Asia time and evening to the people in American and European time.
Thanks, Elijah. Good morning. Happy to have you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good to be here in the chat. So if you guys have any questions, what should we start with?
We have too many questions. The first thing I always like to open up with is just letting you guys give like the intro pitch to Meta and Magic for someone who's never heard about it. And feel free to talk as little or as much as you want. And also, if you want to talk about at all the state of the NFT market that led you to decide to, structure your project and focus in this structure and format that you guys chose, because I mean, just from popping around in your Discord, it's so different from what I'm used to seeing, right? Everyone's in there with the magic and the hero, and there's definitely an element of mystery to it, but a lot of game elements. Like, I'm really excited to just hear how you guys came up with this and what is Meta and Magic. So take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ross. So I think the best place to start would be perhaps a little introduction about my journey in the NFT spaces. So I joined crypto quite early, I think in 2017, but I only got into NFTs in, I would say, maybe September of last year. And that was also the same time when I got to know MVHQ. So I bought a token, I joined the Discord community. I think it was during the time when, we have people like Sneaky and Math Collector who were just, pulling in these big gains, especially with Math Collector and his 800 over ETH, tweet, how he did it, I think, in a couple of days. So that got me really interested. So during those days, we had collections like, I think Cool Cats was really off. So we had collections minting like creatures. We had collections like Anonymize. We had collections subsequently, those on-chain collections like Ethox and a couple of the others, gamified collections like Wolf Game or Wizards and Dragons. So I think the collection that really caught my eye was for Anonymize, because it was fully on chain. And I recall in the earlier days there was no website for Anonymize. If you wanted to mint and Anonymize, you would have to, go to Etherscan and do a write contract. And they prided themselves with, having a collection that had no API, no website, wasn't an IPFS. And I thought that was really interesting because as of any NFT collection, majority of the collections then were, hosted either on a server or on IPFS, and them having it entirely on chain was technologically amazing for me. So I was quite sold because I'm a tech person. So I purchased some mice. Then it was not too expensive. I think it was a free mint. I got them off the secondary, so I got 4 mice. And then within 40 days, I saw the prices of the mice go, from a couple of ETH to about, was it 14 ETH at all-time high?
Yeah, it was up there.
Yeah, it ran hard.
So if you have 4 mice like myself, and it was 14, if you sold them, you could buy a house in Singapore. So that was pretty mind blowing for me. How you just a couple of days ago you had a couple of JPEGs, and today you can buy a house. So I was into that, and I thought, well, if I were to have my own collection, my own NFT collection, the first thing would have to be on chain. It would have to be, perhaps a technological, I wouldn't say a first, but at least the first you to do things that, perhaps have not been done before. And then we saw collections like Wolf Game, we saw collections like Wizards and Dragons, or any of these game collections which have tokens given out by them. And as much as these collections have a lot of hype, what I do realize is once the hype is over, and that's usually the case for most collections in perhaps 2 weeks. So once the hype is over, the price of the token will fall. And once the prices of the tokens fall, along with the collections, value of the NFTs, that's when the community itself gets, a little, I would say, lethargic, and he starts selling off. And I just didn't like it. So it became, we have people who are flippers. They would mint, get white lists, and then, pre-reveal, they would sell it. That's how they flip. But then we also get these sort of midterm flippers who would flip projects in 2 weeks. And I didn't quite like that, because if you really enjoyed the game and you wanted to be in the community, then that would have not been a good experience for you. So the other thing I thought about solving this issue was that, what if we have a collection that wasn't really mainly based on hype, and what if we didn't give any tokens, or if we wanted, what if we gave real tokens, like meme coins, like Ethereum, like ETH, like USDT. So that was the other part of the idea. And I thought, okay, so we wanted something which is 100% on chain, and we wanted to give out real tokens. How can we put this together where it's interesting for, our players, for members of the community to talk about it, to chat about it? And I came up with the idea that, why don't we make a game that is like an RPG, where you can have these heroes to defeat bosses. You have like bosses per week. And then you allow your heroes to equip up to a certain number of items, like maybe spells, buffs, swords, that sort of thing. And depending on how you equip them, and the elemental nature of the boss versus the elemental nature of the items which you have, you stand a better chance in defeating the bosses. Kind of like a Pokemon, right? So Pokemon, you have these fire element, maybe water element. So I really like that idea, and that's how I came up with the idea for Meta and Magic.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for setting the stage. I thought you were going to say like RuneScape, but I definitely like the elemental aspect. Are you familiar with RuneScape at all?
Yeah, I didn't play RuneScape myself, but I have a lot of friends who are in RuneScape, and some of these some of these friends of mine, they live and breathe RuneScape.
Really? That's too good. So once you had this vision of Meta and Magic, and I appreciate how you put that, right, about wanting to do something new within the space, and I can certainly see how you look to anonymize. I also, think we all appreciate projects who are really dedicated, and to what you were saying about projects becoming lethargic after launch and really not much going on. So you have this really cool vision for something that's going to be interactive and customizable. How did you go about that vision to then building the team, assembling the squad, and starting the development on Meta and Magic?
Okay. So I was in touch with Rensport during the earlier days when I had my Anonymize. He was the former community manager for Anonymize, and Renspot's really nice guy. He was helping me answer a lot of these questions which I had. So eventually, when I decided I wanted to do Meta Magic, the first person whom I approached was actually Renspot, right, to be the CM for our team. Then I had already assembled a small team of people who were building this. So particularly my girlfriend, who's the tokenomics. She's also the person who wrote the fight calculator in Python. And then Astrike, who's here with us today, so she's the artist, along with a couple of guys who, started the earlier dev works for Meta Magic, sort of like the structure of the entire game, the front end. So I spoke with Renspot, and Renspot got really interested. So he said, well, would you be keen if I ask if MouseDev was interested in this as well? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, if MouseDev, were to be with us, I will be elated, right? I'll be stoked. So he went about asking MouseDev, and MouseDev said he was interested. So that's good. So MouseDev joined the team as an advisor. And MouseDev spoke with me and said, well, would you be keen if I got someone who has more experience in writing on chain code to join us as well? Then I said, oh, cool. Who would that be? And he said, well, let me try asking Bassett from Ethos. And here we have today Bassett in the team as well. Hello, Bassett.
Hi. Hey. Good introduction there.
Yeah. So,
We're definitely huge fans here of Etherworks, so we're glad you brought him on.
Dude. Yeah. So that's how
Pretty nice.
whole team got together.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride so far. It's been a lot of fun, and really just a real pleasure to work with MouseDev again, and definitely to work with Bassett as well. I've heard such great things, even especially from a good friend of mine, Zero Xeno Arashi. He had a lot of great things to say about you, Bassett. So no pressure or anything, but great to have you on board.
I'm flattered to be talked about by such good devs as MouseDev and very good devs in the space.
So I'm wondering now if you could tell us a little bit about the user experience of this, because obviously the Anonymice was very different. You talked about being on chain. What is it going to look like in terms of starting from mint? Is it going to be on the Ethereum network? And I guess what kind of requirements might someone have on a day-to-day basis in terms of time allocated, or maybe squad allocations in terms of do you need just one character or a whole bunch for building this game or playing this game?
Okay, let's talk about pre-mint first in terms of user experience. So, if you're in the Discord channel or any of you here who have been grinding away, I would say the time allocated for that is quite a fair bit because there are two gates. The first gate will be the Bazaar gate, which is where everyone goes to, and if you want to get your merchant role, which is an items whitelist, you would have to do the exclamation mark magic, and that goes on for a while until you get admitted into the main channel, which is where you would fight in a channel called the Coliseum. Once you're in the Coliseum, we also have access to the other gate, which is called the Castle Gate, and in the Castle Gate you would type exclamation mark hero, and if you do it enough and you vibe around in the other channels and maybe in fan art, maybe in Coliseum, and we notice you would give you the hero role. So I would say for those who are grinding for the whitelist, certainly considerable amount of time was needed for that. Post mint, I would say it's not like a grinding kind of game. It's more a strategic game. So you actually have a full week to defeat the boss. So we release one boss per week. So we have up to 10 bosses. And each of these 10 bosses, they have, their boss drop items, which are, characteristic of the boss. They have their own prize tokens, right? And given a week, there are a few things you can do. So if you have a hero, you can participate in the game. So you would stake your hero. You go to the website methodmagic.com. You click fight for the week's boss, right? You study his his attributes, right? So you study how much health he has, how much magical damage he has, physical damage, if he's got any physical or magical resistance or penetration, because that's going to affect how he accepts or deals damage to you. And also, lastly, if he's got any elemental damage. So if he's like a fire element boss, you wouldn't want to be, hitting him with like a fire element sword, because that's not going to do any damage at all. So players generally, they would have a week to, choose the right item. If they don't think they have the right item, they can get it from the secondary. And then this is where I guess for those who may not have the hero, or who want perhaps a different role, is where we call these merchants who own the items, right? Then they can trade and sell these items and make the secondary market a vibrant place. And so I would say in terms of grinding, it's 0. It's 100% strategic. And in terms of timing, you have 1 week per boss. So that's plenty of time.
So let me ask you some questions, I guess, about these items and heroes. When you go to mint, I assume then that if there's going to be a merchant system and people might be able to trade heroes with different elemental types, that it's just going to be random at mint. And then when you're saying you give people a week, how long is this strategic game? Is it similar to where, we're in the Coliseum in your Discord and it's just going to be a command? So is it going to be, we have our hero and we, attack the boss, and depending on whatever our attributes are for our items and our heroes, it's predetermined whether we will succeed or not? Or is this more of like, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So something that we haven't released, and I guess now might be a good time to say it anyway, is that the game is deterministic in the sense that if you had a certain attack, physical damage to the boss, and he's got some sort of resistance, and it's half the damage of that. So in that sense, it is deterministic. But we're also releasing this new feature where we have critical attacks. And so as of any player who has a certain hero or item combination, we actually give up to a 25% critical attack. And the reason we are doing this is so that, people who may not be able to get powerful items have a higher chance in defeating the boss. So this level of randomness allows a fairer playing field. In terms of the user experience, once you go to the website, you don't have to type command. So the website is actually already up. It's in metamagic.com. If you go there, it'd say you're too early. But the mechanics of the game is actually, I would say, the user experience, I would say it's maybe 90% up. We're trying to, get the entire experience to be smoother, fixing some minor bugs. You enter the website, and there is a fight button. You would actually get to scroll through all 10 bosses. So you will only see, the stats of the boss whom you're fighting this week. And then the other stats will be obfuscated. You click into it. There will be a modal. A modal is like a little window that will pop up. And then in the modal, there are a few things you can do. You can choose from the collection of heroes which you have. If you have more than one hero, you can choose more than one. The first thing you would do is you would stake the hero. And the reason we have players stake the hero before they fight is so that we don't have any cheating cases within the week itself. So cheating cases would be like, if I only own a hero and I fight with the hero and I transfer the hero to another wallet and I just do this, multiple of times, that would be considered cheating. So we wanted to prevent that by having the players stake the hero at least until the end of the boss fight week. to prevent such a situation from happening. So that's the first thing you do. You would have to stake the hero, and after you stake the hero, you would select from a collection of items which you have. So hopefully you have more than one. If you have no items at all, that's fine. And the earlier stages of the boss, you actually don't need. I would say as much as 70% of the heroes for the first boss are actually able to defeat the boss without any items. So, like a friendly beginning fight for, all the players to get used to. So if you had items, you would select these items. And the good thing about having items is that items are not required to be staked before you can fight it. And there's a good reason behind this. I've had a couple of questions and variations of these questions being asked. In fact, in our last AMA, one such user was asking this. So the reason we don't have the items staked is because if you had 5 items and you would stake all 5 items, the first thing is that's quite prohibitive in terms of cost. The next thing is if you were to fight with the item and it doesn't work, you can actually sell it on OpenSea, so that perhaps it's better for someone else's stack. And if the person would buy that item, the person can fight with the item as well. So that's the idea here. So once you have your hero and your item selected, you're ready. We bring you to the final page. And then this final page is kind of like a Diablo type of UX. Anyone here plays Diablo? So you have this window where you have, the body, which is the hero in the middle, and then you have your different items around it. So that's the UX. You click fight. A fight animation will play. And we are quite, I wouldn't say smart, but we are aware that people will do hot linking through the URL. So for example, if the URL says, like maybe boss fight 1/win, then naturally you would know that you have won. Right. And then so people would do hot linking, and we didn't want that. So we actually obfuscated the URLs as well. So bosses, different bosses actually have different obfuscation. So you wouldn't know if you've won until you actually watch, till the end of the animation, and there will be zero chance of trying to hot link to like a win or a lose page because you wouldn't know what that URL is anyway. So yeah, enjoy the animation, and if you won, then you would see the boss die, which is quite a sad moment for myself. I've drawn some of the bosses, and it's like a little pet to me. And when I see my boss die, I feel a tinge of sadness, to be honest. So you see the boss die, and then the claim button would appear. Says, "Congratulations, you've slain the boss. You've defeated the boss. Would you like to claim a boss drop?" So if you click on that, it will show you two things. The first thing is it would show you what boss drop item you have that you can claim for the week. And then the next thing would be the number of items that you fought with. If you decide to claim or to mint the boss drop, you will unfortunately have to sacrifice the items you fought with. So this is a critical decision for most players. If you fought with 0 items, that's good because you can claim the boss drop without sacrificing anything. If you fought with 3 items, right? And then you might want to decide, is the fight stats cumulatively of the 3 items more powerful than that of the boss drop, right? So if it is, then you may not want to do it. Maybe you want to, just retain the value of your 3 items. But if you fought with just 1 item, one regular item, and you won the boss fight, boss drop items are significantly more powerful than regular items, then I would say go ahead and sacrifice your current item. So by doing this through the 10 boss fights, we have a deflationary mechanism in the items collection. So that is, we expect every boss drop to have an average burn of 2 to 3 items. So by the end of the 10th boss, we think that the items collection would drop from a 10,000 to perhaps a 3,000 or so.
And what about the heroes? Are those always around, or is there going to be a deflationary mechanic that we might see?
So the heroes have a very different strategy to them, or have a very different characteristic to them. They're entirely not deflationary. I think that would be quite sad if you would kill a hero. So we only have 3,000 heroes. We call them Genesis heroes because for the 3 seasons that we have planned, there will never be another hero released. So these are the only heroes that we will ever have for all 3 seasons. So in terms of value, I think it's quite clear that the heroes would retain, or appreciate and value in time to come.
Very cool. Can you tell us about, I know you said that there's going to be 10 weekly bosses, so 10 weeks. Are the 3 seasons going to be played across those 10 weeks, or is 10 weeks just the first season?
So it's just 10 weeks for the first season. So one season is expected to last between 10 weeks to 12 weeks. The additional 2 weeks are for, the beginning of the game, like during the minting and the post of the game for people to claim their tokens and whatsoever. The dynamics of the game for season 2 and season 3, I can't talk about it much yet, but essentially it'll be very different from season 1 because I don't like the idea of like rinse, repeat, and wash kind of theme here. So I don't want season 2 to have like season 2 themed heroes with season 2 themed items, and then we just do the whole thing again, and then I don't think that would be very creative on our part. So season 2 and season 3 will be very different in terms of game dynamics. You would still be able to use your heroes, and I do get a question where people are asking, would you still be able to use the items in season 1 during future seasons? Because in the white paper it specifically says no, you can't. So that's right, you cannot use old items in future seasons. However, having said this, we do have community feedback saying that because season 1 items are deflationary in nature, it also means they are somewhat a collector's item. And I partly agree with this because we want to reward people who are with us since the beginning, since season 1. And what better way to reward them than to have, these deflationary items be useful for, perhaps in season 3, where you would need, perhaps a season 1 item to craft something more powerful. So that's entirely possible.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too, especially considering you have some one-of-one items that are going to be dropped in that first season. You don't want them to go to waste either, so it would be definitely beneficial to find a way to get use out of those down the line. But that actually leads to my next question. I know you have the item sale being executed before the hero sale. I guess was that a way to get the items into the user's hands first, and hoping that people that are holding items will then go and buy heroes and vice versa, or what was the idea behind that?
So that's a good question. Initially, we planned for the collection mint to have the heroes released first before the items. And I had a discussion with this. I recall it was a Saturday morning. I was having breakfast, and we were trying to solve a problem with this, particular way of allotting people. And one of the things for this was, I think the problem was if we had the people mint heroes first, we would run into some sort of a whitelisting problem. I can't exactly recall what the problem is. So we thought of many ways to solve it. We came up with, I think, 5 different solutions. And one day it just occurred to me that, the solution is actually quite simple, which would be to allow players to mint items first before they mint heroes. Yeah. I recall. The problem was if you had heroes which are minted first, and you wanted to give heroes the ability to own items, or like, you cater the items for existing hero owners, you wouldn't be able to divide 10,000 equally within 3,000 users. That was one of the problem. And then the other problem was that, if you had people who had whitelists and they got like a different amount of items, it would be unfair for them. So we thought, why don't we whitelist all 10,000 items so it's all fair for everyone? And then for the people who have owned, who have worked hard and got promoted to like a hero role in the castle Discord, they would have, a chance to get one hero. And then for those who didn't make it, that's fine as well, because we have the remaining 1,500 heroes opened for public.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. That explains a lot.
Jinzo, I know you're quite the Aether Orcs collector and have been playing for a little bit. I guess from your experience in playing a game across, I mean, I guess in this case, we'll just say seasons to draw the clear parallel. What are you usually looking for in a game that you can like come back to time and time again? And, what allowed you to stick with that collection for so long?
I mean, every game's different, but the one thing I look for is smaller supply of heroes, which is usually good. You don't want something like a wolf game where you're gonna have too many heroes being produced over time. I think it's a lot more controllable when you do have a smaller supply. I like the idea of the items that they have. It'll probably. I was thinking also maybe it'd be good if you, let's say you are deflationary on the items. Maybe you can give them a little bit of a bonus for the season one transferring into season two, and maybe having a smaller supply for season two, something along those lines. But yeah, back to your question. Sorry, Ross. This is just things I had on my mind, but I basically look for good tokenomics. I look for a game that's well built. I look for devs that really, keep updating and keep adding to their ecosystem. I look for teams that don't make us wait too long and don't like keep pushing those updates till later on. I don't want to see updates 2 months later, right? We need to see a game that's rolling, always like updating and always moving along, and finding a way to keep the community engaged, and really just a fun lore to look at, and just really, an ecosystem that keeps you interested. I don't want too many actions, but at the same time, I don't want too little either. Like the Aetherworks, what they did so well is that they gave us characters, and with those characters, we can be able to find skill points for them. We could send them to do different things. We could level them up. I mean, we can farm with them. There's just so much you can do, and what's great about that system is that even with a very small player base, they were able to keep success for so long and keep the floors, where they are today. I mean, sure, it's fun to have a good game, but you don't want to be putting all your ETH into one game that's just going to crash the next day because people are uninterested, right? So I really like how they balance that ecosystem out, and I like how they're trying to find, you know, ways in innovative ways to bring in new people into the system, because obviously not everybody's going to pay 2 or 3 ETH to start playing a game. But I have a feeling Meta and Magic can do the same with the way they're going to build out their seasons and how they can expand from there. I mean, I think obviously it's not the same game whatsoever, but I like that they're taking a new approach to that small allocation or the small hero size game. I think that it's something I would look to play, and I'm actually already whitelisted. I already have my hero role, so I'm very excited to be jumping in for once right at the ground level. I mean, I jumped into Etherworks after that first major dip to 1 ETH because I wasn't ready to pay so much ETH to play a game. I'm glad it dipped because I was able to get in and I'll have like 11 or 12 heroes altogether. Same thing with the Eternal Elves. It's another game where the supply is really tight and the economy is good. The tokenomics are good. I mean, this one here, it looks like the economy is a lot less based on tokenomics themselves and more on items. And I saw also that they're doing, and you can expand on this, Elijah, when I'm done. But I see that you're also planning airdrops, and the way the airdrop is going to work is through tokens, but different types of tokens like USD and Ethereum and stuff like that. I would actually really like you to expand on that just to see basically how you're planning on rewarding people other than with items.
Hey, yeah, sure. So with regards to the token airdrops, one of the earlier considerations for the game was that, we wouldn't give an in-game token because Sometimes in-game tokens, which are tied to the hype of the game, get very bad pricing after 2 weeks. Should people decide that the hype has died. So we wanted something of value, and we wanted to communicate that clearly to all our players. So, for example, each season is 10 weeks, right? So you would know if you were to join the game, then at least your heroes would be worthwhile for 10 weeks. So we wanted things like that. We didn't want to, shilling into the moon and say when moon or that sort of thing where it's just very arbitrary. Everyone in the crypto space is saying, when's the next BYC? And what are the chances of you being the next BYC? So we wanted a realistic approach. We wanted a palpable one where we say, okay, this is what we're giving the players. If you accept this, join the community. And similarly, in this, how we do this for the token airdrops is that we wanted to give you something that has a value which has already matured, so which is meme coins, USDT, USDCs. And in terms of how we were allocating these coins, we're allocating it in 2 different tranches. So the first tranche, the first 50%, is given to the player with the top fight score. So if you have a couple of players who happen to share the same score, then that part of the token prize money is given, it's shared equally amongst them. So that's the first thing. The next thing is we also understand that, if we gave all of the prize money to, the person with the top 5 score, the person could be maybe, I'm not sure, sneaky, maybe he's got 100 bot farms or something, and he purchased perhaps 300
I think you
items.
cut up there, or is that me?
May have been you. I think he was.
Yeah, I think it was just you,
bad.
Jitsu.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
I can repeat that again. Yeah. So the other thing we have in mind was we didn't just want players who could afford to spend money on the game and win the game by having the best items. So we didn't allocate all of the prize money for that. So we wanted the remaining 50% of the prize money to be for any person who just participated in the game and won the boss fight. So the remaining 50% is raffled to any equal player, who's won the game legitimately. So that was our take on this prize money.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a good way of keeping things balanced, not having people worry about the floor prices as basically the token tanks or whatever. And we've seen 90% of the games do really bad after the first few weeks, like you said. So I definitely think this is a good way to get people that really want to play, and they're going to get rewarded as they beat bosses through airdrops and stuff without having to worry about their daily income on their play to earn or whatever on their tokens. So I think this is a unique way of doing it, and we're going to see how it plays out. I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, and one thing, if I may add, is related to your question. People ask me, if I only have 1 item or 2 items, at the beginning and perhaps through the game, would I be able to, efficiently participate and defeat all 10 bosses? And the answer to that is actually yes. If you played the game from the beginning, you fought the first boss, you defeated him, and you get the boss drop from that. If you just get all the boss drop items, which is significantly more powerful, it is possible to actually own very little items and yet defeat all 10 bosses. So that's one thing that we wanted to reward players, players who are active in the game, players who actually, fight the bosses. Alternatively, if you are just a hoarder, so you hoard the heroes, you hoard the items, and you don't do anything with them, you don't fight the bosses, and you expect to come into the 10th boss with just regular items and, to try and win the boss. And by the way, the boss drop item for the 10th boss is actually not an item. Right? It's actually something cooler than that. I won't share with you what it is, but it is something that you can use across in Season 2 and Season 3. So if you try to come in, previously not having participated in any of the boss fights, just with regular items and, fight the 10th boss, chances are you will actually lose. So we wanted an ecosystem where not just whales who have the money to come in and they would just win the fights. We didn't like that. So we wanted something that was fair, to have some sort of randomness involved, like the 25% critical hits, to encourage and to reward players who are consistently fighting the bosses and minting these powerful boss drops. And I think if we head towards this direction, generally the game should receive a fairly positive response.
Dope. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions to expand on that. Maybe I misunderstood, but were you saying how 50% of the airdrop will be given to a winner and the other 50% to a single raffle winner? Or can you expand on that? I think I misunderstood. Or why not spread it out more? Is more what I'm thinking.
Okay. So you are right to say that. So the first 50% is to the top score fighter. So sometimes you get a couple of fighters who have the same top score. So that's 50%. If you have like 5 people, the same top score, that's 10% to each of them. The remaining 50% is raffled to just one winner. So the reason we wanted to do that was because, or at least for myself, I would be interested to participate in the game, knowing that I could possibly win 100,000 USDT. I would be less keen to participate in the game if it was just 100 or 1,000 USDT. I don't know. Maybe it's the danger boy in me speaking. Maybe it's just I'm kind of like a risk taker sort of person. But somehow the notion of just getting being able to get a large amount of ETH or stable coin from a particular boss fight excites me a lot.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. And it does kind of lead to my next question. I was thinking, since you have 8 one-of-one heroes, and I do see that they have a good amount of attack and HP compared to the rest, do you think that maybe they're a little bit overpowered, or is that something that changes throughout the fight, or like, can you expand a little bit more on those, please?
Sure. So this is a question that Bassett has constantly reminded me about, and in fact, we've nerfed the one-of-one items, I would say, about 3 to 4 times already. So it is actually not true that the one-on-one items are more powerful than some of the other items. In fact, if you look at rarities and you combine the rarity scores of the regular items together, the regular items actually overpower the one-of-one items. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the boss drops. The boss drops are actually pretty powerful. I would say most of the boss drops are nearly as powerful as the one-of-ones. And in fact, as you progress later into the stages of the game, the boss drops are more powerful than the one-of-ones.
Yeah, I understand. I was more talking about the heroes, but I get it for the items too. They're going to help balance it out when you're using items, so that makes more sense to me. Yeah, thank you.
She. Um, I don't know. I did that. Sorry.
You sound like an itch over here.
Quick question for you. Oh, geez, Jinza, you're just.
Threw you off, didn't I?
No, you did. I had some stuff prepared, but that was great. Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask for the boss drops. Is it always the same drop for every single person? Is there any like differentials? Because I know in RuneScape, not to bring it all back to RuneScape again, but a boss might drop like different things for different people, and there's just some RNG involved.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. In the earlier stages of Meta Magic, all the boss drops are the same, and in fact, we considered having the boss drop and the items are ERC1155 because the boss drops would be the same. Subsequently, Bassett came to me and said, "Well, why don't you make them random as well?" And I said, "Oh, that's actually a good idea. It just means we have to draw more." Astrike, who is here with us, she actually drew all the different variations for the boss drops. So yes, if you win a boss fight and you were to mint a boss drop, all the boss drops are unique.
Oh, sweet. That's pretty cool. Wait, when you're saying all the boss drops are unique, you're saying like the different bosses, but not like per boss.
No, per boss. So for example,
Oh, sick.
So for example, like for Inu Dodgemon, which is the first boss, we are releasing 1,000 boss drop items. So the boss drop items will be the tail of the Inu Dodgemon. So we call it Dodgemon's tail. We actually have 1,000 different variations of the of Dodgemon's tail, and each of these different variations come with different fight stats.
Yo, that's actually really cool. I really appreciate you answering all of our questions about your game so far. We've been going for about 50 minutes, so I do want to get some of the audience involved and make sure that they can ask any questions that they've been wondering, because obviously it's about the community and making sure everyone can learn about the project. So got Bruce up here who's been waiting for a bit. Bruce, any questions for Elijah or the rest of the Meta and Magic team?
Can you guys hear me clearly? I'm using my AirPods right now.
Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me on the stage. I actually had a question, something that doesn't get asked too often. Where do you see Meta and Magic from, a year from today? I know that's kind of like every founder can say, yeah, I want my project to be successful and stuff, but like realistically, like where do you see yourself when it comes to the actual project in general and the team? So if you could just elaborate on that just a little bit, please.
Hey Bruce. Yeah, so that's a good question. And I like that question because it means you're thinking really far ahead. So we have not even started season 1, and we have 3 seasons installed, but you're asking, what happens after season 3? So in fact, just yesterday I was asking myself this question, and I have an answer to that. It may not be a complete picture, but hopefully would give some glimpse into what might happen. So I'm a fan of Final Fantasy, if you play Final Fantasy. So
Yeah.
I've been playing Final Fantasy since, I think, Final Fantasy 6, where I think the protagonist was Terra. And all the way into Final Fantasy 14, right? 14 with all the superb graphics on PC. Yeah. So I would personally love for Meta Magic to carry on as long as I am alive. And of course, eventually, once we get past season 3, it wouldn't just be a team of, the small team we have now. We have about 10 people in this team at this moment. But I assume it will be, something that's larger, something, comparable to the size of what BAYC has. I think BAYC has like 40 employees just working on it full time. So yeah, if we do hit that level of success and with the enthusiastic community engagement, who really want to see further seasons coming up, then two things. The first thing is we will carry on just as how Final Fantasy and all these good game titles have done so. And the second thing, which I think is not done in Final Fantasy, would be that we want some sort of relationship between the different seasons as well. Kind of like how Marvel has done with their movies. So, maybe there's like a sneak preview at the end of season 1 that kind of tells you what's coming in for season 2 or season 3, and then maybe we have like a little off-season kind of game where it looks like it's got nothing to do with anything, but then maybe in a future season we have that tie back to the game itself. So yeah, I'm thinking in that sort of terms, casting a broader net where eventually everything, when we put it together, it's going to make sense.
I like that. Thank you so much for answering my question. I know it's kind of hard to ask that because as we all know, everyone listening in this AMA, things in NFT space move really quick. So me asking you, where do you see your project a year from now is kind of a stretch, but yeah, thank you. That's honestly a perfect answer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bruce. We got a couple more people here requested, so I'm going to add them up and keep the questions coming.
I see Big Mick in the crowd.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you,
Okay.
Chef.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope everyone's day is going good. This might be a really stupid question, but so I read through the white pages, and so is every hero and item a separate NFT?
Yeah, it is. So the heroes will be in the heroes collection, and you will find it on OpenSea in its own collection page. And the items would have its own collection as well. So once you mint the boss drops will be added to the items collection. So we have two collections for season 1.
Gotcha. Okay, and so we want to mint like a hero and then as many items as we can to give us the best chance of having the highest attack score or victory score when we fight the boss to give us the best chance at the airdrop.
Yeah, so that's the primary gameplay that most people would play. I would say, first, we want to be fair to the community, which is why we only allow for one item per whitelist. And so if you happen to, have a couple of items, that's also possible because we allow, subsequently any leftover or spills from the whitelisted mint to be minted by, heroes and so on. But having said this, that's the primary gameplay. Another interesting gameplay would be for people who think more like merchants. So I know that in a game ecosystem, not everybody wants to fight. Some people want to speculate, and that's perfectly fine with me. So for these merchants, perhaps they would want to speculate on, perhaps getting a certain combination of items with certain elements early in the game so that they can trade these on OpenSea. So that's another dimension to the game which I foresee will happen as well.
Okay, so when you say merchant, like say there's a like a water element boss, and so as a merchant, I want to buy all of the elemental items that are strong against water. So then when people are looking to purchase those items, I hold them and list them for the people that are going to fight.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man, and hope you have a good weekend. Up
Of
next,
course.
we got Mucho Gusto. Mucho Gusto, very good. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, how's it going, guys? First, I'd like to thank Metaverse HQ for always bringing up amazing projects to your panel. And so just my question. Well, first of all, I also like to start. I just did a little research on Elijah Yang's page, and I was really excited to see that you guys are doxxed. So that's amazing already in itself. I guess my question is, excuse me. So my understanding is the first phase is the 10,000 minting, and then the next is going to be the 3,000 hero mint. Is that correct? It's going to be in that specific order.
Hey, Mucho. Yeah, that's right. So the first phase will be to mint the 10,000 items, and then a few days later you'll be able to mint the 3,000 heroes.
Okay, and is that in relation to how many, like, because if 10,000, well, I guess 10,000 people aren't going to be minting these, right? I'm assuming that certain people are going to be able to mint more than one. I guess if you're minting 10,000, then how is that sort of trickled down into 3,000 there?
Okay, so your first assumption is right. Certain whitelists that we've given away, they allow people to own 2 items during the minting stage. Yeah, but that's the maximum we allow because we don't want people to, like hoard with like 5 items. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is, in fact, for the heroes whitelist, we don't have all 3,000. In fact, we only have 1,500. So you can see that the competition for the heroes are actually even more aggressive than just having all 3,000 whitelisted. So like I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, we don't want to release too many heroes. I did toy with the idea of having perhaps 5,000 heroes and then 10,000 items. But if I had 5,000 heroes, it wouldn't exactly be a Genesis collection. And
Okay.
and I don't like calling anything a Genesis collection if I had more than, I would say, 3,000 of them.
Oversaturation.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
totally
which is
agree.
why we yeah. So that's the answer to that.
Okay, excellent. And in terms of mint price, is there like sort of a range that you guys are like thinking of, or is that still really further down the road?
Okay, so that's a good question as well. Our mint prices are not released yet to the public, but I can roughly let you know how much it would be. So
Mhm.
heroes are worth about 3 times as much as the items, right?
Okay.
And in fact, we are preparing the mint page as we speak. So in fact, yesterday I just asked one of my devs to make the mint info page on the website. So that should be released in a few days from now. Yeah, so it would have
Okay.
all the information you want, the supply available for the whitelisters, the prices for the public, the prices for the whitelisters, and so on.
Okay, great, fantastic, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ross. It's good seeing you up here again.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure.
Have a good one, guys.
You too. Up next, we got Big Mick with that handheld high. Mick, what up? I see you're repping an imposter. P cool.
Let's go, man. Thanks. I did have a Moonbird, but I woke up to it sold. So, yeah, the imposter's got to stay.
Yo, let's go, King. Congrats on the sale.
Appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being here and been listening in. Heard a lot about the gameplay, but my question is more around the team itself. So we see some big names, some illustrious resources from other projects that people enjoy, and active resources within those projects. So coming into Meta and Magic and looking at now until you scale up and have success over time. Maybe a question for Bassett. Your involvement in the project, which is the priority? Is this going to be your home? Is it more of a fly in, fly out scenario? And if there is competing priorities between projects, what takes priority?
That's a very good and very tough question. So like I joined Mad and Magic more or less like the boat was already leaving the harbor, and it was more of like a helping hand for Mouse Dev. He was an advisor, and they were looking for like a stronger development team so we can move things faster. And that's more or less the kind of the job that I took was just okay. I'm gonna help sail this ship until we can mint out and have a successful game that works well and it's not expensive to run. And yes, I mean, that kind of answers the question, which is like I consider myself more of a helping hand than a core resource for the gameplay at the moment. And yeah, I also like continue to work with Ether Orcs. It's a project that I've built from the start, from the ground up. I did a lot of stuff for them, and I really like it. I have it very close to my heart. Yeah, but also like Ether Orcs is a very ambitious project. So we are like actively looking to sort of like expand, and I cannot be the bottleneck in a way. Like all the things we do. So we are also getting extra help in the EtherWorks project, especially for Solidity. So I'm more able to do like these one-off stuff and other types of projects that I find interesting. And yeah, that's more or less my answer.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, there is an intent to try to backfill and I guess, in a way, make yourself redundant so you can do other things.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And gladly, like Ether Orcs, I know it's not about it, but the thing behind it, they are all very good. And all the people we bring on, it's also very good. So I feel they are in safe hands as well, like while focusing on other stuff.
No problem. Thank you for answering the question.
Sorry about that. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Ross is back.
What is up? Yo, thanks so much, Mick. Really appreciate it. If there's anyone else in the audience who wants to get up on stage, just request here and we'll bring you up and you can ask some questions to Meta and Magic. But we've had some great questions from the audience so far. Elijah, is there anything that you haven't been able to talk about yet that you're like really just dying to share with the audience, or want to make sure that people who might have joined midway through can really take away from Meta and Magic and can look forward to?
Sure. Okay. So we are coming very close to the mint date. So the estimated mint date is in April, and we don't have many days left in April. I think 13 days left in April. And like just yesterday night in my time, right? Because it's morning here. I just tested, we just integrated Bass's contract into the front end of our game. So we are working hard on the user experience and ensuring that, most, if not all, fringe cases are taken care of. And that's generally it. So for the people who are in Discord for some time already, especially, to the first few people who were in the Bazaar or the Heroes Gate, the first few to be awarded roles, I would say the journey for this is coming soon. We are about to start the adventure.
Cannot wait. That's so exciting. It looks like we don't have too many. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna pop in there and just kind of amplify that. This has been a really fun journey so far, and I'm really excited about this project because it's really a fresh take on NFT gaming and on-chain gaming in general. Something definitely very different that hasn't been tried before, which is really exciting in my opinion. And I think what also has been really great is we're quite under the radar right now. I've really wanted to utilize zero paid influencers, zero paid marketing. We've had full organic growth all the way up to where we are now. So it's quite cool. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough at the moment. So I've really taken pride in that approach, and I feel like we really have something special here. So it's cool to have it at that level now, and then see what it will be soon once the gameplay starts.
Yep, very excited to see how that plays out. I'm very curious to see like the boss battles and everything. Like I'm definitely a sucker for these games, and I'm just always looking for new ones to park my ETH in and new worlds to explore. And I think this is going to be the next one I jump into.
Yeah, likewise. I'm definitely excited to play and really appreciate you guys taking your time here. I wish there was a way that we could like live stream like a video while we're having these discussion on spaces. It'd be sick to just have some sleight of hand playing in the background. I think that would be so on brand. Well, anyways, since that joke didn't really work, I'm gonna say a little disappearing.
I laughed with my mic off.
Same.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. But yeah, I think it's almost time for us to do a little disappearing act of our own. All right. It's late. It's Sunday morning for you guys, so really do appreciate it. But if we got nothing else from the audience, I'll give you guys one more opportunity if you just want to do a final like rundown of the shill. And I don't mean shill in a negative way at all, but just give the info on mint date and tell people to check out your Discord and all that. But we really appreciate it, guys. We love the thoroughness of your answers for our questions. You really painted a picture for what we can expect the actual game to look like. And all I can say is just really excited and been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ross, for hosting us. And it's a great pleasure to have Rensport and Bassett here with us as well. We hope we've answered all the questions that the community asked for us. And as for myself, I was actually an MVHQ member from last year. So as always, MVHQ has been quite close to my heart.
Yeah, I wanted to actually touch on that. I heard you talk about Sneaky and the Mev days. I mean, those were some special times. You got to witness a lot of greatness there in the early days. You saw a lot of the big names kind of evolve and kind of become what they are today. So that was actually very special. You were there close to the roots there. So that was, I'm sure, a very interesting time to be part of MVHQ.
Yeah, I recall during those days, during the voice chat channel was just going crazy. People were typing nonstop, and it was really difficult trying to follow up because first we had the community who was trying to solve all these puzzles. I think one of the puzzle was Neo Tokyo and Kaiju Kings. So MVHQ was actually one of the first group to actually figure it out. So I was really glad to be part of all that.
Yeah, we definitely solved most of the ARGs out there, even when it came to Mobland, which was in the city before. We solved a few of those. I mean, we've been pretty much at the forefront of all of those. Um, yeah, I didn't want to get into this earlier because I really wanted to talk about your project, but now that we're at the end here, I really wanted to touch on it. And thank you for the kind words and really like I'm glad you touched on MVHU because you made me smile. I mean, it's such a special place, and anytime we can get like the outside world to kind of peer into our doors, just makes me so happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I think amongst all the NFT communities that have joined so far, MVHQ is really the most legit.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I guess one final question. Elijah, is there any comments you want to make on the NFT space in general? I really love to hear from people who are actually building projects and developing the space, because like a lot of people can talk on Twitter. Obviously, traders make up the space as well, so can definitely respect it. But someone who's building the future of Web3, are you happy with where the space is at now? Do you think there's things we need to do differently?
I certainly think we're still very early into the whole NFT Web3 thing. To be honest with you, I mean, if we just look at CryptoPunks, and BAYC with BAYC eclipsing CryptoPunk earlier this year, we come to realize that these collections, especially BAYC, is probably only 9 months old, and having done something like this and with their acquisition of potential companies like, I don't know, Cool Cats or like 10 KTF and so on, it just brings about a new wave of an ecosystem where we have not seen this before. I mean, eventually, this is just my personal take on things. Eventually, the reason we're sort of doing blockchain decentralization is that we want some sort of ecosystem, a community which is not held, by just one server or like by an organization or by a company. And if I could say this, in the metaverse, we will soon hopefully approach the day where we can put on our VR headsets and the metaverse will be as interesting or if not more interesting than that of the real world. And this brings about the whole Elon Musk hypothesis where he doesn't think we're in the base reality. So if you know what I'm saying, then that's good. If you don't know what I'm saying, you can read up about, the whole base reality idea. And it could be the beginnings of what might happen, in these simulations to come. And I would be very glad to be part of this, Player One. What's that the movie's name? Yeah, something like that.
Oh
Ready
man,
Player One.
You're excited for it.
That was
Yeah.
a profound answer. That was amazing. Well said.
Yeah, really, no kidding.
Super cool. Yeah, no, we're really just scratching the surface here, and it's funny, as you had mentioned, everything that had happened with MVHQ. I remember when that was minting, and it feels like it was like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? In our space space and time that we perceive here in this space, but it's super fascinating. Everything is just changing so dramatically and so quickly, and even just with the NFT market in general. I think what was that, like, Zeneca had posted on Twitter earlier about the kind of like irregularity of how the market was performing with the Moonbirds dropped today, and it's so fascinating, and I'm super excited and happy to be a part of this space. I wake up every morning just kind of really counting my blessings and being super thankful to be a part of it, and it's just so fascinating, and there's just so much more to go from here. So those are my 2 cents. How about you, Bassett? Anything to share before we wrap up quickly? It would be cool. What do you? I would love to hear your take on the NFT space currently, and where you see things headed as well.
Oh, whoa, bye. I hope you guys are ready for the journey. But so I have a lot of mixed feelings. The first of all, that like the metaverse as VR world, I think it's like the lamest one I can think of. First of all, I get motion sickness by playing Nintendo Switch. So I cannot imagine living myself in a VR world. And I see who like, I understand people who actually like enjoy those sort of like abstractions, but it's not for me at all. Like I don't like VR headsets in a way, and I don't believe in that sort of like metaverse. I posted a tweet the other day, and I think these like a definition of metaverse resonates more with me, which is like it's not the digital space in any way. It's more or less like a point in time where we human beings start to value more our digital selves and our digital lives than we value our physical world. So I think that's the more or less like the way I think of it. Like it's just when we put our personalities and what we think of us and like what we want and what we desire will be more digital than physical. And like it's very clear to see that we are going into that direction. Regarding the NFT like state nowadays, I feel a bit underwhelmed, I would say. So first of all, I think there's too little meta in the metaverse. Like I see very few projects actually doing like interesting things among themselves. Everything's more or less silhouette. Everyone has their own community, and there's very little interaction. So that's sort of disappointing. I would think that a year by now, a year ago, we would be in a bit much more like interconnected state between projects, in a way that like you could actually use your assets and do stuff with each other in a much more like holistic way than we currently are. So that's sort of like underwhelming. And I also feel like we kind of like in a stagnation of innovation, like really big. It's been a while since I saw that goes for crypto in general, but NFT space, it's sort of like, especially for me that I'm looking at the technical side of it, it's just a ton of the same stuff. So like everybody uses the same contracts and everybody just sort of like puts a different skin into it. And that this is like fine, like it's fun as it is, but I think it could be much more interesting. I think we could be doing a lot more stuff actually than we are actually doing. Like I would like the project to be more like bold and try different stuff and different models and just yeah, be different, I guess. Because like if I'm just to give you an example, like say a project that you have an NFT and then you stake and then you earn a ERC20 that allows you to mint another collection. And just by that description, I'm probably talking about like 50 or 60 projects at a minimum. So yeah, I'm disappointed in a way, but I still think it's quite exciting. There's a lot of good stuff happening and I see a lot of potential. But we're just like still in the early stages and crawling for like a more interesting world, I would say.
I really appreciate that, Bassett. That's a really well faceted and thought out answer. I really agree with a lot of stuff that you're saying there. I feel like it's a tough problem, right? Because so much of the activity that we see is just fueled by speculation, and you can see it's definitely fueled by people trying to make profit. A lot of the times, there's certainly an art element there and a game element there. but you're nailing it with the social component. As much as we emphasize, Web3 and this brand new internet and the metaverse, we really haven't seen anything yet that I think is like completely specific to the space. Even stuff that's on chain, it's super cool, but it's like, when are we really going to get into that brand new something that has never been done before? So it's going to be exciting to see people like yourselves innovate and continue to build with the space. So really looking forward to it, and great answer again. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Bassett. That was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to rant about the space, so talk about it. So we could have talked for another hour or so just on that topic. But I appreciate it. I like to hear other people's opinions as well. It's the sort of thing, like we talk a lot about projects, but I think we talked a little about like people involved, and this is such a diverse space in a way. Like there are people from different backgrounds and people who have been doing different stuff all their lives, and we are kind of just like doing this shared thing together. So I think we should talk a lot more about what each other thinks of the space in a way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of the same things as you did, especially with the whole VR thing. I think it's overhyped personally, and I'd much rather play my little games and roll the profits and kind of grow my assets and kind of enjoy it on my own time than I would just running around a VR or in a metaverse that basically is not really. There's not really much fun things to do in there yet, Like, I mean, I don't know. Right now, I'm not there yet. I don't know if I will eventually be, but I feel like, first of all, the assets are, for a while there, especially like sandbox lands and stuff, were way too expensive for what they are. And I find that there's not enough things to do in there yet. And I don't think it's gonna attract the masses as much as people think. I think it's a lot of hype right now, but I don't really see it having the future that everybody's hoping it will. It might. I might be completely wrong, but I mean, right now, that's where I stand. I'd rather, you know, not take all my time and spend it there. I don't see the actual value of it compared to example like we were talking about a meta magic, what that might be, or an ether orcs, or a different time sink that might actually bring value in a different way. That's just that's where I stand right now with these things.
Absolutely, yeah. It makes sense, and it's. I feel like a lot of the space is fueled on speculation, as Ross had mentioned, and it's tough. I mean, I feel like the metaverse is so far away, and it's so hard for people to make like realistic bets on what's going to happen with that, and it's just a tough kind of scenario in general. And I don't know. I mean, we all still love projects like Anonymize, for example, or Ether Orcs that have this nostalgia kind of element to it, where I'm sure many of you in the room have played, are old enough to have played a lot of like classic games with pixelated characters and that kind of thing. It's like that's kind of where we have our comforts, which I fully agree with you. That's kind of where I'm at as well.
Yeah, plus a lot of those AAA games, we're calling them AAA, but a lot of those games coming down the pipeline, I'm afraid that we might get oversaturation real quick. Maybe the player base will grow along with these games coming out, but I mean, as we all flock to different games, will we really flock to the virtual reality or the metaverses en masse? I don't think so. I think a lot of the action is going to go into some of those play to earns that are actually really exciting to play, and that's kind of another one of those dangers that I see for the future of some of these sandboxes and Decentralands.
Yeah, I sort of think hot sand and it getting in your eye is like my biggest concern with Sandbox, but I echo the concerns you have for the rest of the metaverse. But all right, everybody, I think we answered a lot, and we really appreciate once again the entire Meta and Magic team joining us today. Check out their Discord, check out their Twitter. Also check out MVHQ, Metaverse Headquarters, Discord and Twitter. Come chat with all of us. Reach out. We love to talk about the space. And yeah, guys, it's been a great discussion today. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their weekend, and happy holidays to anyone who's celebrating on either side of the classic holiday spectrum there. But enjoy, everyone.
Thanks for having us. That was really wonderful. We all appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.